CM Punk is the fifth and final member of the OG Bloodline because he returned last night alongside Paul Heyman. But now the question has become, will Paul Heyman turn on Roman Reigns? Because some fans think they have found the evidence which proves this, but are they just overreaching? Well, we'll be talking about that today. Welcome to Allison Analysis. I'm Ben Allison and I've analysed last night's episode of Friday Night SmackDown, and here are my 5 key findings. In at number 5, this could be the best version of Shinsuke Nakamura that we've seen in WWE. But for that to end up being the case, some people are going to hate this, but I think he's going to have to defeat LA Knight. To say Nakamura's main roster run has been stop-start would be an absolute understatement. I mean, this man gets repackaged every other month, but this new gimmick, I think it's got potential. The new spooky look, I think it's fantastic, and I think it's extremely marketable for WWE as well. But the issue is, his character has been damaged for so long now. He's been brought into so many feuds just to lose them. So I think he does need a big win if we want to add any legitimacy to this new character. And I think a win over LA Knight, well, it would do just that. And it doesn't have to be a long title run. LA Knight could even win it back. But just giving him that win, giving him that title for a short amount of time would undoubtedly help Nakamura. In at number 4, I am saying it once again, Chelsea Green needs to become the first United States champion. I know I've said it a million times, right? But after SmackDown, I'm quadrupling down on it. It has to happen. Chelsea Green has to be the first champion. I mean, last night, Chelsea Green was so over. I mean, Bianca Belair is one of the most over stars in WWE, and Chelsea Green, a heel, was being cheered over her. That is how over Chelsea Green is right now. And I've said it before, but I'll say it again. It feels like this title was made for Chelsea Green. Chelsea Green identified a gap in WWE's women's division, and that gap was everyone was trying to be main eventers instead of mid-card stars. A good hand, if you want to call it that, if you want to use one of the old terms, right? But Chelsea Green identified that, came in, said, I don't care if I'm going to lose, that's fine, but I'm going to make the most out of every opportunity I have on TV. I'm not going to try and do a really serious gimmick. I'm not going to try and be a WrestleMania main eventer, but instead I'm just going to play my role perfectly. And nobody else was even trying to play her role, so she had no competition. It was a genius move, and she's done it brilliantly. And a good hand, as they used to call it, is one of the most underrated roles in professional wrestling. It is a necessary role in professional wrestling. So I'm really glad Chelsea Green identified this gap and filled it. But here's the thing, because she had no competition and because it was so different to everything else, she is now so over. So I think this mid-card title, it has to go on her, right? She, I think, is the reason for this title even being introduced right now. In at number 3, that was Cody Rhodes' best promo since WrestleMania. Look, I'm not saying Cody Rhodes' promos in recent months have been bad. They've been good, but they've just been nothing too much of note, right? They've done their job, but done nothing more than that. Whereas before WrestleMania, this guy was cutting amazing promos week in and week out. And listen, I get it. It's understandable. It's a lot easier as a babyface cutting promos on your way up the mountain compared to when you're at the top of it. But the best faces find a way to do even great promos when they are champion, and Cody Rhodes last night did that. I mean, I can't believe I'm saying this, but he kind of destroyed Kevin Owens on the mic. The only kind of issue I had with this promo, and it's only small and can be fixed easily next week, is that this feud, it's understandable from both perspectives, but Cody's promo really fired some holes in Kevin Owens' logic for his perspective. So I do think next week Kevin Owens is going to need a good promo to, justify his perspective a little bit more, because I do think the beauty of this feud is the fact of it makes sense for both guys, but it's still clear that Cody is the babyface. Before we go any further, if you guys could like and subscribe, I would massively appreciate that. Here at Wrestling Republic, we create between 5 to 10 free videos every single week. And in addition to that, we also have a live daily stream every single day at 8 PM UK, 3 PM Eastern, 12 PM Pacific. Thank you. In at number 2, CM Punk is the final member of the OG Bloodline, but I'm just glad it's not Seth Rollins. Rollins being the fifth man would have just made no sense. It really wouldn't have. I mean, he promised 2 weeks ago that the next time he's in the ring with Roman Reigns, he's going to stomp on his head. So unless the plan was to turn on Roman during the match, it would have just really annoyed me. But even then, that's kind of overbooking the thing if he turns on him in the match. And listen, I understand it. The Bronson Reed stuff has happened since then. But no way can you tell me Rollins' hatred for Reed is bigger than his hatred for Reigns. No way. But Punk returning with Heyman, on the other hand, well, that makes perfect sense. Punk has said countless times just in the past year that he would do anything for Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman was taken out by the Bloodline. He clearly went to CM Punk and said, "Hey Punk, I need some help." And Punk said, "I'm there for you." So he's not doing it for Reigns, he's doing it for Heyman. It makes perfect sense. There we are. And yeah, realistically, a 4v4 would have made more sense, and that probably should have been the direction in hindsight. I understand the 5v5 traditional thing, and I love that, but I don't think this really works. But it's better than Rollins, that's for sure. In at number 1, is Paul Heyman going to turn on Roman Reigns? And this was the biggest question coming out of last night's SmackDown. And the reason for this was Paul Heyman had a handkerchief in his pocket, which looked an awful lot like Solo Sikoa's one. Solo Sikoa's one, which Solo strangely wasn't wearing all night. And we know in this storyline, they love the small details. We know Paul Heyman loves the small details. So is this possible? I think so. I mean, Heyman always said he prefers being a heel, so I can't really see him being a babyface on the screen for too long. But at the same time, I would have thought if this really was going to be a teaser, then Solo Sikoa would have had the handkerchief in the opening segment, but then in the closing segment didn't have it, and that's when Heyman had it in his pocket. Maybe that would have been too obvious. Maybe that's why they didn't do it. But personally, I think that would be the only time where I'd be like, yeah, okay, I believe this. So while I do think it could happen, if you were asking me right now in this minute to make a prediction, I'm probably siding more towards I don't think Heyman's going to turn on Reigns in War Games. I don't. But at the same time in this storyline, well, anything could happen. That does bring us to the end of today's episode of Allison Analysis. Overall, last night's SmackDown was an absolute banger. Best episode in weeks and weeks. I thoroughly enjoyed it. But what did you guys think? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. And I will be back tomorrow for some analysis on Full Gear. I hope to see you guys then. Peace.